The worst part, honestly, of being a football fan is waiting for the season to start. That's what, I'm experiencing here as a supporter of Liverpool. It wasn't a good season for us last year by any sorts. We finished in sixth place, not, where we wanted to be. And compared to the second place finish in 2014, it was disappointing. I mean, we had poor performances in the transfer market, Balotelli being a failure, you know, Dion Lovren, not performing up to standards, even though someone ranked him as the best center back in the Premier League, which I thought was outrageous. Injuries to our best striker, Daniel Sturridge. I forgot how many games he played in. I think he only played in a couple games, and really he was limited. Losing Steven Gerrard the last year of Steven. A fun fact, Steven Gerrard was our leading goal scorer. I mean, he was slow, he wasn't as good as he used to be, but I mean, he was our leading goal scorer. And then the end of the season didn't get any better for us. We had the Raheem Sterling transfer saga, wouldn't sign the contract. That didn't really end until last week when he signed with Manchester City, which I think is a big sigh of relief for 40 million or 49 million. 49 million he signed with Manchester City. I think that's good to get him off. We don't need that added stress. And then we had the 6-1 loss to Stoke City. Brendan Rodgers somehow not being sacked, even though when most people were assuming that Jurgen Klopp would have been brought in, but instead Klopp wanted to take a break from managing, possibly because the Liverpool job wasn't open, possibly because FSG wanted to keep Brendan Rodgers in charge for another year to see what he could do. They thought maybe Brendan could turn this thing around, and we'll see. The transfer market this year, I think we've made some decent acquisitions. We started off with a couple of signings. Our first one, James Milner, on a free transfer from Manchester City. Now, James Milner is, I think, our potential vice captain. Jordan Henderson has been named the captain. He's, I think, a good choice for captain, as he's going to be on the FIFA 16 UK cover. I think he's the right choice at captain. And James Milner, I think he's shown in the preseason friendly so far that he can be a good option, whether he's playing center mid or whatever position he's going to be playing. So Milner's going to be a decent option. We look at Adam Bogdan, just going to be a backup goalkeeper. I don't think he's going to be a big opposition to Simon Mignolet. I think Mignolet has a job already, and he did a decent job, towards the end of last season. Started off rough, but he really fixed it. Then we had Danny Ings, who is going to be, I think, a good option for fourth striker. He performed well at Burnley, the relegation side last year, and I think the addition's going to be big for us. Then we added Roberto Firmino, the Brazilian, which I think is a great addition to the side. I think he shows great potential. I believe he's only 21, so he can show what he can do, and if he performs up to potential, I think he could be a decent replacement for Raheem Sterling. And then we look at our newest signing, Christian Benteke from Aston Villa. 32.5 million, awaiting a pending physical. He's going to be that guy up top that's going to replace Daniel Sturridge, because Sturridge, I heard, might not even return until October. So if Sturridge has injury problems like he did last season, Benteke is going to be our guy. Balotelli is not on the squad for the preseason tour. I think he's going to be either out on loan or he's just going to be out. Brendan Rodgers, I don't think really wanted Balotelli in the first place. I think that was apparent when he barely selected Balotelli at all. I mean, when we signed Balotelli, I thought that was a huge signing, but it was just a major disappointment. Now, speaking of Brendan Rodgers, as a manager, I think he hasn't won a trophy in his first 3 seasons. We need a trophy this year. Whether it's the Capital One Cup, the FA Cup, it's either going to be the Capital One Cup or the FA Cup. We need to win one of those tournaments. We're not going to win the Europa League, and we're definitely, I don't think, going to win the EPL. But we've got to win the Capital One Cup or the FA Cup for Brendan Rodgers to stay. If we don't, and he goes 4 years without a trophy, I think Brendan Rodgers is out as manager. You know, to not win a trophy in your first 4 years at Liverpool, with the reputation we have, you know, we need a manager who can bring us trophies. You know, we've been really in a drought ever since Rafa Benitez left. So we need a manager who can bring us trophies. Now, can Brendan Rodgers live up to his expectations? There's no more excuses. Sure, you had decent excuses last year. Sure, none of your transfers, you know, panned out. You had an injured Sturridge. You had no Suarez. You know, you had the Gerrard leaving, and then at the end of the season, you had the Raheem Sterling saga. Now there's no excuses. You have a decent side that should be pushing for possibly a Champions League spot and a good domestic cup performance, possibly a trophy. You can't let the supporters down. I think if they don't win a trophy, and if they finish 6th or 7th in the Premier League, Rodgers is out. And I think they bring in a guy like Jurgen Klopp. I think Klopp will come if Rodgers, you know, doesn't improve. But I don't think Rodgers survives this season. I don't think we're going to win a trophy with Brendan Rodgers as manager. But sure, he had excuses last year. You know, we didn't have Sturridge really at all. You know, we didn't have Suarez. But as a manager, you have to adapt. You have to find your strengths. And really, I think his ego might have gotten in the way of that. He has an ego as a manager. And I think he needs to put that away and, you know, just manage. That's what you got to do as manager of this football club. But I think Brendan Rodgers, he has one season. It's a make or break year. If we get off, you know, if we're mid-table, like 9th or 10th by Christmas, he's out. And, you know, we're going to have to find a replacement for him. I think Christmas is going to be our evaluation period. We're going to say, is Brendan the right guy for the job? And if he is, keep him. If he's not, then let him go for Christmas and see if another manager can come in and fix his mess. But I know, win or lose, I'll always support Liverpool through the rough times and the fun times. So this is Mr. Natural 2119 signing out.